key to creating a realistic landscape is not to buy more paints. It's understanding how to mix the colors you already have. Let me show you step by step how two primary colors can create the greens you need to create this mountain meadow. This is a sheet of Fabriano cold press 140 pound 10 by 14 taped to a Gator board. And here I've diluted some Indian yellow, some indigo, and some Indanthrone blue that I'm going to use as the source of my greens in this hilly forest scene that I'm about to do. I'm going to start with the sky. I'm brushing on some water, and I will drop, using wet and wet, my blue colors, which are cobalt blue and manganese blue hue. And I'm imagining the sun is on the left side, so I will have a little bit lighter blue here and darker blue on this side. I'm imagining that there are some distant hills. I need to mix up some gray, so I'm going to take some cobalt blue and a little bit of burnt sienna and make some gray. And I'm going to leave a bit of an edge and that might suggest snow-capped mountains in the distance. In fact, I'm going to drop in a little bit of blue because shadows on snow are blue or violet, sort of in that spectrum. As the mountains get closer, we're going to start to see either some grasses or some distant forests. So now it's time to use the green. I'm trying to do this with just one brush. I use some Indanthrone. Now it's going to make kind of a warm green. Really in the distance you want cool green, so I may end up dropping other blue into it. So let's just see what we get. I'm sort of imagining a hill here where the trees are closer to the viewer. I'm letting the bristles skip over the paper, and that gives a suggestion of texture, which again could be grasses or distant trees. And I think I do want to cool that down a little bit, so I'm dropping in this diluted cobalt. So I actually need a lot more. I'm just going to paint with the chip brush, but I'm going to use other brushes to help me mix. Otherwise, I'm just not going to have any control at all. Okay. Those are probably too blue. We'll fix that. This is one of the things I really like about watercolors, to watch the colors blend on the paper. I'm going to tilt this a little bit. There's kind of a puddle. Again, the paper is pretty wet, and I probably should have chosen a different brand of paper, but there you are. That's what we've got today. All right, that still needs more blue. And I normally use tube greens, so this is definitely an experiment for me. Now I can go back after it's dried and add more value. Also, once this is dried, I can control the shapes a little bit more. So this is sort of a underpainting, so to speak. But I will go ahead and start pulling these colors forward because I want to show what looks like a field of wildflowers. I want a little more yellow. The warmer your colors are in the foreground, the more it pulls the foreground towards the viewer. So to really make something look it's in the distance and you're pushing it away, make it cooler. If you want it more in the foreground, make it warmer. I like to use this brush if I'm doing, say, weeds that are growing at the side of a road, the bottoms or the stems of flowers, if I'm doing a sort of a distant flower bed. So this is still dry here. What I want to do is I'm going to put in a little bit of Winsor violet, because what that will do is that will also add to the sense of a shadow. That's not strong enough, I don't think. Yeah, that's pretty blue. And with these colors, it's possible to get, because I have yellow and violet, that will make a gray. So as this violet starts to mix with the other colors, you'll get new colors. I'm trying to put it down just where it's wet, so it's starting to dry here. We can see some interesting streaks that just sort of look like light filtering through. I didn't plan that, but it happened. Now, I think I'm going to grab some cobalt blue as well. And tone that down a little. Ooh, whoop, that's kind of a lot. Really needed it to be more concentrated. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it because it's really wet, and I'll continue to work on the field. I think I'm going to put a little bit of burnt sienna because sometimes stems will have a kind of a red color to it. Oh, this brush is too wet. Oh. I was paying so much attention to the trees and the mountains and the grasses that I didn't realize these clouds didn't blend and migrate as much as I had thought, so it looks a little blotchy. I'm going to try to make it a little more even. Now if you notice, there's a puddle of water here and that will leave a line. So I'm drying my brush to make it damp, and I'm just going to bring that down, and hopefully that will not be obvious. Now I'm going to mix up some more green, and it's going to be, I'm trying to make a bluer green. Yeah, I think I've got that. I'm trying to draw these pine trees, and I'm not covering them all up. That way you have a sense that there are trees behind. And I also want to preserve this somehow. I want some trees that are more in the foreground, but I do want to try to preserve that. Okay, so just using the pure burnt sienna by itself with the same liner, I'm going to come in holding my brush again at the tip and try to get sort of some random branches. And that's why I hold it at the tip, because it doesn't let me be perfect. Perfect is the enemy of natural. Now, where these flower blossoms are, it would make sense if they're not on something that looks like a dried stalk. I am dabbing on some water to get these colors to bleed a little bit. Another trick I did is dabbed on some water, and now I'm going to drop in the pigment wet into wet, and that gives me a more random look, and it allows the paint to disperse again in a random way. And one of the things you'll notice is if you're out looking at a field, whether it's a meadow of flowers or whether it's rows of corn or rows of soybean, you'll tend to see that of grasses and fields and farmland where it goes light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. So if you can get that, then it'll start to feel like you've got something natural going on. And that's what I'm trying to do. We're going to bring in some burnt sienna and some Winsor violet. I looked at the painting by stepping back away from it and decided that it looked pretty good, but I felt like it needed a little bit more yellow, so I quickly brushed in some yellow off camera, and I think that is a little bit better. I may go back later and add a little bit more yellow, but definitely bringing the burnt sienna and this mixed green color more into the midground really has helped make this look a lot more natural rather than dark and then light and then very, very dark trees. I think the painting overall works. So the two big lessons for today are using totally mixed greens, no tube greens, and doing most of the painting with a chip brush. To learn more about mixing your own greens, check out this video.